This is going to be video. I was going to move my ass to the living room where I have a cool background and stuff.
It's been a long time coming. The tide is turning. We tired of running. We rising up. It's been a long time coming. They pride is hurting. Shake off that burden, that dirt in. Bounce.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a new season of Raj Nation Innovations Discover Your Inner Awesome podcast. My name is Rajiv Nathan, aka The Raj Nation. I am your show's host. I am the founder of Raj Nation Innovation. I am also a hip-hop artist, a yoga instructor, but above all else, I am a storyteller. I am joined by my new co-host, Victoria Cohen, aka VC Money. We'll see if that nickname sticks. Victoria is the voice behind Almonds and Asana. She is a blogger, a yoga instructor, a health and wellness and food enthusiast, but above all else, she does it with action. This is Discover Your Inner Awesome, the only show where you get to eavesdrop on conversations with entrepreneurs, startup founders, artists, and musicians about the stories, the journeys, the struggles, but most importantly, the questions. The questions that help creative thinkers like you and I better understand who we are, what we're doing, and how we can do it better. This is the Season 7 premiere, and we are excited to welcome Scott Hardesty, founder of Ranger Nutrition, onto the show. Ranger Nutrition is hands down the best protein shakes and nutritional supplements I have ever tasted. Scott's got a fascinating story for how that came together, but the topic that we talk about for this episode is around planning, or lack thereof. Specifically, we ask the question, how long can you wing it? Before we dive into the episode, I want to let you know, if you are not a member already, head over to www.discoveryourinnerawesome.com and subscribe to our email newsletter. Join our tribe, why don't you? You will get an email every Monday when a new episode releases, and therefore, never miss another episode of this show. All right, let's dive in now to our conversation and kicking off Season 7 with Scott Hardesty, founder of Ranger Nutrition. How long can you wing it? Let's listen in.
You know, when it comes to business, right, you just kind of do what you think needs to be done. You know, like my business grew fast, so basically I would develop a product and then people would want it, and then that was basically all I was doing. I was winging it, right? I was winging the fact that I didn't have processes and plans in place. And I had to wing them and develop them as I went along. So I didn't have like a good business plan. I was just doing it. So I was just winging it and trying to figure out what I would do next to make it work.
So as this starts to grow, then you have customers and everything.
Mm-hmm.
What's sort of like the, as you're like, okay, well, I'll figure it out as I go. What's going through your head, and at what point do you start realizing, like, wait, this is getting out of control, or this is getting beyond my control, rather?
Well, you know what? It came more to a point to where when the business kind of stalled, it made it to, I think you can only wing it to a certain part in your business to where it's only going to make it so far. It's like with working out, right? If you're winging your workouts and you don't really know, if you don't really have a plan on how to get from one point to the next, you're only going to make it so far. And the same thing is with business. So, the business made it to a certain point, and then it just kind of stalled because I didn't have a plan in place. I didn't connect with anyone that would help guide me and, get me out of the wing it mode. You just do what you know how to do until that's just not enough anymore.
Yeah, that's interesting because that I think is the default mindset. And quite honestly, I think to get out of the gate, you have to, because you can also be paralyzed by over planning and never starting. Or you could just be like, well, I've got something, I've got a product, I've got a blog post or whatever, I'm just going to go. Like Victoria, when you started your blog, you're just like, well, let's see what happens, right? And then I think you start to gain a little bit of traction, and then you have to start formalizing a little bit more. But one of the quotes I've always liked, it pertains to business, but I think it pertains really to anything, is what gets measured gets improved. And I think in the mode of just flying by the seat of your pants, you don't really stop to like look at like how is this happening, and therefore you're not measuring it. Like in a business context, like Scott, what you're facing or what you're referencing is, I think what can happen in that case a lot of times is you're not really paying attention. Like you see a top line dollar figure coming in, and that can be very misleading. Actually, you're not necessarily thinking about, okay, how did that dollar come in? Is it similar to a different dollar that came in? How much of that do I actually keep at the end of the day? And how does that help me make the right decision tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you were totally right with that. I have to be honest that, I've been making products for like 4 years, and Ranger Nutrition I only stood up in July of 2016. But for the past 4 years up until now, I never knew what my profit margins were. I was literally just winging it, man. It's like, this is what I thought I needed to do without any guidance or direction. And that is, I've had some people go, that's valiant. You know what I mean? They're like, wow, look at you, you did it. And I'm like, but did I? Did I do it? Or did I just, fix a flat tire to get me to someplace else before the car actually gets fixed?
Yeah, like a Band-Aid kind of solution.
I think kind of when you start anything new, you're winging it, right? Because even if you do like research beforehand on how do I start a blog and how do, that's what I'm doing right now, you still don't really know, right? What you don't know about something new. So at the beginning, you're really always winging it. And then I think you suddenly get to this point, and I think it's a different place depending on what you're working on, where suddenly you have this gut feeling of like,
yeah.
I can't do it like this anymore. I'm like hitting enough roadblocks that I can't like just wiggle my way around, to wing my way around, however you want to say it. And that I need to do something more. And you learn enough in those, in that first time period of winging it, that you can then sort of come up with some concrete actions or decisions or processes to then actually kind of put you on some more strategic path than just winging it.
Oh yeah. That totally makes sense, because winging it did get me to a level of success.
Right.
Right. It did, winging it. I winged it long enough to realize that, this is a product that people want. The company does make money. But then the point when I realized that I couldn't wing it anymore is when I see all these other big companies, and I'm wondering to myself, how in the hell did they do that?
Which actually, this is really interesting. So my dad's an entrepreneur. I'm probably going to talk about him a million times on this podcast because he's the best. But he is, shout out Dad. He is an entrepreneur. He's done a million different things. And he always said, as I was going through college, and I have an older brother, and my brother has also sort of ended up going down a similar path of working for small sort of startups, et cetera. But he's worked for a couple bigger companies, and I obviously worked for Pepsi. And my dad said, it will be so interesting for you guys to see the inside of a big company, and that a lot of times they run just as scrappily in certain areas as these little companies do. And in some areas they don't. But honestly, the parts of PepsiCo that I worked in, while they were, had a lot of resources behind them, et cetera, they were sort of these initial startup type parts of the business, like their coconut water business that I worked on. I worked in this demand accelerator that was a new function, and we were winging it. Like, I was doing all this stuff like in Excel, in like very scrappy ways that you would think like PepsiCo's supply chain is not run in Excel.
Sure.
I was running it in Excel.
Yeah.
And to an extent, even when in a big company, when you start something new, you're kind of winging it because it was outside of the box of what they knew how to do. And we kind of had to just start from scratch. And then as we started to build it up, then there was the opportunity to throw more resources at it and get it going. But kind of to the point of you wondering, how do these big companies do it? Yeah, sure, at some point they have the money and the resources to put something behind it. But at the beginning, they're winging it too.
Yeah. But I will say, I think there's it's a good point, but I think there's a difference between flying by the seat of your pants, winging it, and being scrappy.
Yeah.
And scrappy just means you're resourceful.
Yeah.
Right? I run Raj Nation Innovation out of Google Drive spreadsheets and Google Drive, like my prospecting. I don't have Salesforce. I don't have a CRM system. Mm-hmm. I have a spreadsheet that I manually update and maybe that'll change in the future. But for now, I have to be resourceful about it. I have to mitigate costs.
Yeah, but that's not winging it. You have a plan.
Right, that's what I'm saying, right? And I don't necessarily say that in the sense of like, I know in 6 months I'll be here, in 12 months I'll be there. But that's what I'm saying. Like, there's a difference between being scrappy and winging it. And I think scrappy is a really good thing to get started. And even as you grow, because as you grow, it can be very easy to spend money in super unnecessary places, especially if you're not tracking where you're spending or your profit margins or anything like that. Like Scott, so for reference, Scott is and Ranger Nutrition is one of the companies in the Bunker Labs military veteran entrepreneurship cohort. And last night there was a presentation on sales, and Jim Vasilopoulos, who I've mentioned on this show before, he's the host of the Leadership Podcast. He led the presentation, and he was like, if I'm trying to sell you this stool, and this stool costs $200, or this stool sells for $200, but it takes $400 worth of my time. Say it takes me 40 hours to sell it, and my rate, my mental rate is $10 an hour. If it takes me $400 to sell it, I've lost $200 trying to sell you the stool. Yeah. And these are all the things that factor into figuring out and starting to formalize a plan. Which I know with my last business, Idea Lemon, for the longest time, more so my fault than anything else, I thought you could just fly by the seat of your pants. Like I actually remember having a conversation with Martin, my business partner, and it was actually videotaped as well. It's on YouTube if you look it up. I don't remember what you'd search, but if you look it up,
it's documented.
For Idea Lemon, yeah, it's there because we were doing a little like mini like webisode thing, and I had said, I feel like if we keep doing what we're doing, and I hate that. Looking back, I can't believe I said this. I feel like if we keep doing what we're doing, the universe will just take care of us. And he's like,
karma.
And he's like, well, not really, because if we hadn't have said, a year ago we wanted to make an online course, I wouldn't have started looking up this person. We wouldn't have found these resources. We wouldn't be doing these things now. He's like, we can't just be. And I was like, oh wait, you're the universe.
Like the revelation.
Excuse me. But that's the type of mentality. Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, I truly believe that, that you have to make opportunities, right? Like opportunities will come to you, but if you don't act on them, then you're just losing it. But if you act on one opportunity, it opens up the door to more opportunities.
Right.
I didn't know anything about manufacturing when I started this company. That wasn't my thing. I just made products that I wanted to take, right? So, so I had to make these opportunities to, I couldn't just go, okay, well, I'm going to make these products. Well, how? Right? So, I did a little research, but I was still winging this whole concept. I had no business plan. I had, basically, I spent all the time in reaction mode, if that makes sense.
Yes.
What it was constantly the sales and the customers and the products actually dictated my next move. It wasn't me actually planning it out in a way that would make sense. I think a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
Talk more about that kind of the idea of being reactive.
Well, okay, so like when I first started making products, it was pretty funny because, I developed a pre-workout that I wanted to take specifically for me, and then I shared it with some friends. And they go, oh my gosh, what's it called? And I'm like, and they're like, how much is it? And I'm like, please hold. Right? So at that point,
what's the most you'll pay for it?
But then I had to do a little research and figure out what is the average cost for a pre-workout. I had to develop a name. I had to visit manufacturing plants to try to figure out who was going to be the best one to develop the product. I had to make decisions. Am I going to do it overseas or am I going to keep it in the U.S.? Well, me being a retired Army Ranger, I knew I was going to keep it in the U.S. because who knows, they have different standards on what they put in products. Mm-hmm. And if I was going to put my name on it, I had to make sure that, it was top quality stuff. So here I'm reacting. One thing led to another, Then people were like, well, I got a buddy of mine who's in Louisiana. How can he get the product? Well, okay, crap. Here we go. Let's build a website. Now I got to figure out a merchant plan. How are people going to take the money? So it was constantly a reaction mode. It's like if I'm going to build a website, then okay, now I need a logo and I need labels and I need brochures, and then one product led to another product. As I would look through the products that my company didn't make that I was taking, then I was like, okay, well, let me add this product because I would rather develop one that I would rather take instead of taking somebody else's. Once again, it was a reactionary movement to a need on what I felt. And then, people were like, well, how do I get that product? What's it called? When is your next product coming out? I'm like, holy cow, guys. I literally just, I just introduced this one, so it was, to me, I felt like it was all reactionary. I mean, when I lived in Indiana, I had a retail store as well because people wanted to come and do it. Well, then what are your hours? Those changed over the year or two that we had the store because I didn't know when customers were going to come in. So I'd get a pattern of when most people would come in, and then that's when we changed our store hours to. So I was reacting to the customer. And I feel like the whole company's been built in reactionary mode.
Well, I love this concept of reactive as opposed to proactive. Go ahead, Victoria.
Yeah, no, I'm just all of a sudden kind of swirling in my head. I'm wondering, and I don't know your whole backstory, but I know you were in the military, and I'm kind of curious because I feel like I would assume that your experience in the military would have been very like following orders and very like proactive as opposed to reactive, but maybe there's also this huge element of reactive winging it. I don't know. I'm just wondering like how your experience in the past in that field might have been really different or maybe really similar.
Actually, I'm an Army Ranger.
Okay.
Right? So we have this thing called field crafting. Okay. And that's, let's say you're out doing a mission and something breaks and you have to immediately react and fix it with whatever you have that's around you. Okay. So we call it field crafting. Mm-hmm. That's a way more political name than what it used to be called back in the day.
I'm sure.
So, and that's what we're going to stick with during this podcast.
Perfect.
So I mean, now we did, being in the military and being in the type of job that I did we plan everything out? Heck yeah, we had 5-paragraph operations orders. We would practice everything over and over again before we actually did it. But when you're actually doing the mission and something breaks or something goes wrong or one person goes in the wrong direction or you get compromised, you have to react. Mm-hmm. And Rangers are really good at reacting.
Interesting.
Well, and so there's a couple things out of this. Understanding your customer is obviously a really good thing, right? Listening to what they say and reacting to their needs, right? That's not a bad thing. That's part of like the learning process of it all. And there are plenty of companies who think they know what's best and then they fail miserably because they didn't spend any time listening to what people say. But I think what there's a caveat to that in that, you want to be in a position where you're proactive with your decision making. You're not all the time just waiting for things to happen to you and then to use the same word, and then reacting. But what I think being proactive enables is by being proactive in certain areas, it enables you, or it prepares you for reaction. Mm-hmm. So knowing you have the right, systems or the right structures in place, it gives you the best chance to react when something goes awry.
Yeah, to pull those levers quickly when something
exactly.
comes up.
So it's almost like it's like reaction by design, more or less.
Right.
Like as you're talking about, like you opened up the store because people said, well, you might need a store, right? It's almost like before making that decision, okay, what's the real cost benefit of doing this?
Well,
go ahead.
Well, the store opening kind of happened out of a need because people were showing up at all different kinds of night at your house. So you're like trying to eat, have dinner.
So I know it tastes good, and I know you said it's like all natural ingredients. So like, are you sure you didn't put some crack in this thing if they're showing up at midnight hanging on your door?
You know what? I can't reveal my formula, but I mean that's what kind of made the store happen. I mean, I wanted to, we needed to set some hours just so we could have some kind of organization. When and I get it. You start a new business and you're working all the time, but you don't, when somebody shows up at your house at 9:00, and you're not prepared to deal with it. That's when we decided to, just turn it into a retail location and, do all the shipping out of the back and all that kind of stuff. And it really worked out. I mean, it did. It turned out well, in the beginning. So, but that was me reacting to, the family life and what I felt needed to happen because customers were showing up at all, constantly contacting you, hitting you with texts, and it's like you're always a slave to the customer, and I just had to create some kind of organization to it.
Was your reaction to people coming to your house at odd times of the day and night to get product so your reaction was obviously opening this retail location. Do you feel like looking back on it now that you were sort of winging that, or was that like a really thoughtful plan?
No, totally winged it. And what I mean by that is my job was to find a location as quickly as possible. Mm-hmm. One that I thought would have decent parking, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, probably from the time that decided to have a retail store to the time I actually did it, probably within 20 days.
Oh my God.
Wow.
To having the doors open and people coming in. So I would say that there wasn't a whole lot of planning in that.
Yeah.
Now once we got once you get the store open and then you're like, oh, then once again, I'm in a reactionary mode on how to make all that work.
Right. And that's kind of what I was thinking or getting at is like, how did that winging it situation work out?
Well, I mean, you get there and you realize, oh, we have no signage. And, oh, how do I get this information out to people, let people know to quit showing up at the house and start showing up to the, to the actual retail location when we have no signage up and people can't find us. So then I had to react and get that. And then I'm like, okay, now we need a point of sale system that actually works. And so, we had to react to that. And then I'm like, okay, now not only do I have to manage the inventory while shipping, I have to manage it for walk-ins to the store as well. You see what and then it was like, then you have to develop a whole shipping strategy. And, the goal was constantly to always improve the experience. And I think that's with a lot of business owners. They always want to improve the customer's experience. So I was constantly, I would say I was proactive in designing stuff that I thought people wanted. Now, I'm not necessarily talking about the products. I'm just talking about the systems in place to, make it happen. And then, and basically the products I made because I wanted to take them, but I was also, still thinking like, okay, what are the two, like when it comes to protein powder, what are the two biggest sellers? Well, you need to have a vanilla and a chocolate. Okay, great. I don't need all these other flavors yet because right now those are the two flavors I like. and you get a lot of people, liking that. So then I'm proacting, thinking ahead the whole time while still being in this reactionary mode of trying to upgrade the customer experience.
Yeah, and some of those decisions make a ton of sense, right? It's not that it's not that every decision is like, oh, I'm just flying, I'm just winging it, or I'm just seeing what happens and then we'll act from there. But it's almost like, so like the decision to open a store, what I'm hearing out of this is that decisions are never made in a vacuum. Mm-hmm. And making one decision means like you've opened up like a factorial of 10 of more decisions that have to do with that thing, right?
Yeah.
So while you may not have, foreseen with the store all the, like signage, marketing, getting the word out to stop coming to your house, hours, all that stuff, point of sale, those are the decisions that open. So it's like when you say yes to one thing, there's a whole Pandora's box more that comes with it. It's not just that one individual thing.
Right. But I didn't plan that out beforehand. You know what I mean? I was just going off the basic need. I need people to quit showing up at weird times.
But I think then the question is too, but how much of that can you plan for and can you know? Even when you do know so much, there's always going to be more that comes along that you don't know. Like Raj was saying, as you open one door, new challenges come along that you can't plan for.
Yeah.
Right. But I could have could we have taken more time planning the location of it?
20 days is pretty quick to decide to open a store and then open it. And I know you have a magnetic personality, but did you put actual magnets on the doors if people were coming in on day one?
No, but it was. Luckily it was at a time when the demand was high, so and it was something new and people were excited about it. So. It seemed like a smart thing to do, but we also didn't spend a whole lot of time figuring out where this location's going to be. And, is that going to be best for that? You sign up for a 1-year lease, not knowing if having a retail store is actually going to pay for itself. You see what I mean? So, there was no research done in that.
Yeah.
I was just trying to fill a need. So I was winging it when it came to that part. Now, when I moved up to Chicago, I closed the retail store because I'm a little bit smarter now. And, because the retail store is more expensive than what you think when you first open it. Things cost money. And so when I came up to Chicago, not knowing the area at all, I just figured it would be better just to keep everything online.
Let's pause for a hot minute for this quick PSA. Are you part of the startup community? If so, keep listening. If not, go ahead and hit the skip ahead button because this is not going to apply to you. The Discover Your Inner Awesome podcast is a property of Raj Nation Innovation. What is Raj Nation Innovation? Well, it's simple. I talk to founders and startup teams every day who flat out tell me, hey, we suck at telling our story. I help remove the suck. Combining a unique background of both branding expertise as well as songwriting expertise from my experience as a hip-hop artist, I take a performance lens and mindset to the world of business communication. Using this approach, I partner with growth-focused startups to help them develop their story, their go-to-market message, and their pitch so they can raise venture capital and acquire their early customers. Think of me like the Will Smith character Hitch, but for startups. And yes, I will tell you when you're dancing like an idiot. Does this sound like a conversation we should have? If so, head to www.rajnationinnovation.com. That's rajnationinnovation.com. Send me a message through there, and let's chat. Back now to the podcast. What this starts to remind me of is last week I spoke at a friend of mine who's been a guest on the show actually twice, Levi Bayer. He's a professor at DePaul. He teaches entrepreneurship. He's also the co-founder of Second Shift Co-working Space in Logan Square. So if you live in the Logan Square area and you want a great place to work, go to Second Shift. But he teaches entrepreneurship at DePaul, and I went and talked to his class the other week about money and entrepreneurship. And I talked to him for 45 minutes about how you need to think about money as an entrepreneur. Quite honestly, probably as for anyone, but specifically in entrepreneurship, these are the things that can be easily overlooked that need to stay top of mind. And I started by, I had someone in the class, I was like, who wants to be my trial entrepreneur? And someone gets up and I'm like, okay, do you have a dollar bill on you? And he says, yeah. So he takes out his dollar bill. I go, all right, he's an entrepreneur. He just made his first dollar. Everyone give him a round of applause. And he's like, all right, great. Your first dollar. Awesome. You feel great about it, right? And then I took 65 cents out of my pocket. I gave him the 65 cents and I took his dollar. I said, I'm the government. Actually, that dollar is worth 65 cents because the government owns 35% of every dollar that you make.
Yep.
And it's the little things like that, right? And so then I started to break down from with my own services. I was like, all right, so if I bring in a contract that is, let's say it's $8,000,
was like, really? Let's look at how that breaks down. So if the government owns 65%, I think the math was like 5,200 is actually, and for anyone who's listening who doesn't understand what I mean by the government part, meaning you got to pay into Social Security, Medicare, and unemployment as a business owner. And these are all things that if you're an employee are just automatically taken out of your paycheck before you see it. So I'm like, okay, so if it's $8,000 and I get it for 52, like I'm actually, while I may end up being given $8,000 ultimately, I have to account for the fact that only 5,200 of that is mine. But I also have to factor in what expenses went into getting this money. Let's just say maybe it's another $1,000 hypothetically. I don't know. Maybe it's $1,000. So now I'm down to $4,200. All right, so I'm down to $4,200. And you know what? I'm not getting paid that $8,000 all on day one unless I'm super lucky and this company is, my client is super flush with cash and wants to pay it all on day one. So this is going to get paid out over the course of maybe, perhaps most likely 2, but perhaps up to 3 months. So really, what am I making this month? 4,200 divided by 3, which is around like $1,500, less than that, $1,300. And I was like, and I have not yet even been income taxed for this yet, which I'll have to figure out, once next year hits and I have to file my taxes. Mm-hmm. So I was like, so that $8,000 number, while I can feel good about it, I really have to think about what does it mean at the end of the day, and it probably means something along the lines of, in a given month, around $1,000 of take-home pay, and then over the course of the actual value of it, maybe it's around $3,000, factoring in all those expenses. Mm-hmm. And that's the type of stuff where I say it's important as an entrepreneur. It's important for anyone, but you don't necessarily have to think about that in any other fields. But when you're in entrepreneurship, and someone gives you a fat check, you're like, oh my God, this is crazy. Well, yeah, it's crazy and it's crazy. Cool, but it's more crazy for the fact that not all of it is yours at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's so nice until reality hits.
Right. And another thing, too, and it's kind of interesting just thinking back to what you had said earlier, Scott, one of the other things I brought up to that class was the difference between good money and bad money. So Martin actually, a couple seasons ago, brought this up, and I liked how he framed it. Good money informs the next decision you make. Bad money distracts you from it. So when you think about it, $1 you bring in theory, means you're going to make more dollars that are similar to that. So then you start to think about, okay, who's your customer base? I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example with Idealum in my last business and some of the mistakes we made. So when we were focused on personal branding, but we didn't focus on who's the audience. It consisted of both entrepreneurial types as well as people looking to leave their jobs, as well as people looking to move up in their jobs, right? Now that's 3 different messages that we were trying to bake into one message, hence where we ran into a lot of issues. But when you think about the money side of that, if we are so fragmented and we can't pick one audience, it means if I'm going to spend a whole lot of effort and even some people were just like, hey, they like us because I might make friends out of this, right? Mm-hmm. So let's say I get someone to buy my course at that time for the reason of they want to improve the relationships in their life, right? Which actually was one of their students' reasons for buying. Unless I'm trying to get more people who want to improve their relationships in their life, that's bad money because it's just creating a distraction of trying to fill that need. Because once they purchase, you have to deliver on that. And it's creating a distraction. It's not getting me more of what I want. Versus anyone who's in that career changer market at the time, that should have been where the 100% of the focus was. And to say, or we should just pick one, right? Whether it was that or entrepreneurs, because we want to get more of that type of money. Even to the effect of, if you think about, so again, another example, right now, a potential client of mine that I ended up just not working with, and nothing ever really came out of it, but they were technically a startup, but not like any of the other startups that I'm working with, in the sense that they were actually a gym. Oh. Okay. And I was initially talking to them about like training their staff on how to give tours. Okay.
Have you been a tour guide in the past?
No, but I look at it, yeah. But I look at it in the sense of like, well, you got to be telling a story during this and saying the key customer points to make sure that you can get the highest conversion to membership at the end of the day. Now, unless I'm trying to get more gyms in my client portfolio, that's a distraction. That's bad money. If that were to have ever, turned into an opportunity and I had said yes or whatever, that would have been bad money because I'm not trying to, like, I can't really use that example to get more of the clients I want, right? Because if I'm working with more tech-based companies, more SaaS-based companies, they're going to look at that and be like, well, we're not giving tours. Like, what are you talking about? Why would I care about this? And generally, the people who you sell to know more people like them, right? And this even goes into like the discounting factor too when you think about what are you trying to sell. If you go to someone who's cheap, that person likely knows more people who are cheap.
Right.
Right? Like the rich hang out with the rich, the poor hang out with the poor. They're at a very like, brutal level. So if you go to someone who's not cheap and sees high value, they likely know other people who are not cheap and place an emphasis on value. And that's the type of stuff that goes into the decision making, goes into the proactive nature of things when you think about your profit, you think about your revenue, your expenses, all your costs, that kind of stuff.
Whereas at the beginning, when you're winging it, you're not really taking that kind of strategy necessarily into account. You're like, I'll take whatever I can get.
Yeah, and I think there is getting off the ground. There's a degree of take
like
whatever
we said
I
at the
can
beginning,
get,
you kind of have
some
to be
momentum. But then there's got to be a point where you make a decision and be like,
is this good money or bad money? Is this
good
worth
or bad?
it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because at one point I had barbershops carrying one of my products. Okay.
Wow. Get a haircut, bulk up.
But that was the thing. I'm like, that's bad money because that's not the niche that I wanted to pursue. Now, it only happened with like a couple of them. And, when I moved up here and branched out Ranger Nutrition, then that kind of just went away. But I understand what you're saying. It's like I wanted people to come into the store, where they could see all the products instead of just one product that was at a barbershop. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and this goes, so we did an episode last season with Todd Connor, the CEO and founder of Bunker Labs, about managing partnerships. And that's a huge factor of that too, Scott, is knowing, because like when you do something that people find interesting, all of a sudden a lot of people want to get involved with it. They're like, oh yeah, we should team up or something, right? And there's a lot of wasted time that comes as a result of it, because you can have oh yeah, it would be great to collaborate conversations all day and fill your calendar with them and feel like you've done something productive, when in reality 90% of those conversations are a waste of your time.
Yeah.
Because unless there's like it's rare, and you have to like find the situations where it is, but it's rare that where it's mutual benefit on both sides, where it's a symbiotic relationship. Like the barber example, right? Like you really had to like strike gold to make any real profit off of a barbershop carrying, like unless the barbershop turned into like do bicep curls while getting your haircut, right? And then like,
it was a weight loss product, but you know what I mean? They're like, I got fat people that show up. I mean, they're probably interested in this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, or you could just send them my way. But we did it for a while. We tried it. Why? Because I'm winging it. And to me, I was like, distribution, no matter where it's from, but only until you actually develop a plan and figure out where you really want to take your company, then you just realize it doesn't make sense anymore.
So what are some of the things now that you've kind of changed trajectory on and feel like you're really planning out as opposed to winging it?
Well, at some point, I created like 12 different products. Okay. And I never knew, I would just hang out on those products and they would sell, but I never knew what the profit margins were on any of these things. Right. So until I decided to join I was lucky enough to get accepted into this Bunker Labs Epic program. And they put you, as a business owner,
for reference for our listeners, it's called Epic in capital letters. It is an Epic program as well, but it's called Epic. What is it? It's like entrepreneurial something.
And I don't know, but
something.
I just know that one word. It sounds cool, so I'm going to go with that.
So sorry. So go ahead. Yeah, you got accepted into Epic.
Yeah, so I got accepted to that, and then they put you in front of these amazing people that know business that can help you, right? So one of the things I realized is that I have 5 products that are less than 1% of my overall income. I'm going to drop those 5 products, right? Because think about it. If I have to keep putting money into having these products made and they're less than 1%, I could really be taking that money and investing it in the products that are moving quickly.
Right.
So by winging it, I never knew, right? I didn't know what my profit margins were on products. I didn't have a balance sheet. Heck, I barely had an accountant. Right? No business plan, no financial forecast. And, so just the things that I've learned by actually reaching out to people or getting in with a program that actually has, well, let me put it this way. I'm prior military. So if you give me task, condition, and standard, I'll meet it. Right? When you're winging it on your own, there is no task, condition, and standard. Like you don't have a plan to get you to the next part. And if you do, it's whatever you think is going to get you there without any outside help. And that's what I built this whole company on, was just basically me winging it on what I feel I needed or what I felt the customer needed. Well, now I'm dealing with experts who actually know how to run business, what makes sense, how to get a company to a next level. And, once your company stagnates or you get to a part to where you cannot just figure out, there's a bunch of information you don't know. There's things you should be doing, but you don't know what they are. At that point, that's when you got to quit winging it and try to get some help.
Well, and I'm thinking just like in my own personal situations, and I don't know, maybe in yours too, that like I think you tend to wing the things you don't like doing and the things you don't know how to do.
Yes.
So like it sounds like, I don't know, if maybe like finance is not your favorite thing. It is not my favorite thing. And that was like the class I hated the most in college was accounting. So I know that in my own business that would be, and it's so important, but I know that would be the part that I would be like, I can wing it for as long as possible. But I'm sure there's other parts like the actual, your actual product. I'm sure that you like put a lot of time and effort and planning into. Like you didn't just throw a bunch of powders in a carton and hand it to someone. Like I'm sure there was like a lot of strategy behind it. So I'm just thinking, I think as you start to like kind of dissect where you wing things more, it's probably in the areas that you're just like not as interested
It's the stuff you don't want to think about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're right. I mean, the things that I knew would be important were, all I really wanted to do was create the products.
Right.
I mean, that was my most important thing, is develop some products that I wanted to take that I know would work for guys that do special operations and like when I was back doing Ranger stuff, I would have loved to have had these products to help me do my job and extend my I want to say physical prowess, but that doesn't make sense. But my endurance and things like that. So I put a lot of thought and effort into that part of the business. But you're right, I didn't like finances. I didn't understand them. So I just didn't do them.
So that's probably like a good takeaway for any of us, right? Like when you go into something new, being super mindful about like, what are the things that I'm probably not going to want to do? And those are probably the most important things to like not wing.
Right.
Yeah. And so, and now I'm not winging it. And I tell you what, also, if you wing stuff for too long and then you actually get this other information, it's going to be overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It really is. There's been times that I've been going through this course where I just have to sit back for like 10 minutes because I am totally overwhelmed on what the next steps are. And because I know I'm not strong in them, and I'm just like, okay, here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Please Lord, bring somebody into my life that's better than me. Because I don't want to, at that point, you just don't want to. Well, once you get to the decision that you can't wing it anymore, you don't want to wing anything at that point. Does that make sense? Like you want to surround yourself with all these professionals to help get you out of that wing it mode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's transition the conversation. We've been talking a lot about, how you've been running Ranger Nutrition and how you are going to change things moving forward. But let's talk about the company, the product itself. At surface level, Ranger Nutrition is another supplements company. Tell our audience, though, why it's so much more than that.
Well, you know what? It actually goes back to like 1998. When I was jumping up, I was coming out of an airplane at 1,500 feet, which is like the standard combat jump, and we had a bunch of combat equipment on us. So as I came out of the aircraft, my parachute didn't open up all the way. All right. So at that moment, you have, if your chute did open, you have you're dropping 22 feet a minute. So you have 59 seconds before you land. When your chute's not open all the way, you're traveling at a faster rate than that. But I saw what the problem was, and I thought I could fix it. Well, as I'm falling and people are yelling, pull your reserve, I'm busy, right? I'm trying to fix this parachute. So I finally, when I do get full canopy, I look down to release my equipment, because that's the last thing you want to do is land with your combat equipment strapped to you. But when I reach down to pull my equipment, I hit the ground. And luckily that saved me from breaking my legs. The actual rucksack and the frame that did it actually compressed and took the majority of the hit. But what the bad thing is that was actually the beginning of, the disabilities that 20 years later affect my body. Because right after that hit, I had to strap on my rucksack and do a 12-mile road march to get to our location. But when you're an Army Ranger, you don't show pain. You don't show, unless I would have broken something or whatever, I was going to finish that mission. And that's just how we're trained. That's how we do what we do. Fast forward 20 years, and now I have to consistently work out to keep my disabilities at bay. Because if I don't keep my body strong, then things start to hurt. Well, that's where the products came in. I was tired of taking products that, number one, I didn't know where they were made, more to the fact that I always thought they tasted terrible and they didn't do what I wanted them to do. Pre-workouts made me shaky. Protein powder tastes like chalk. So I got a couple chemist buddies, and I was just complaining, and they go, do you want to make some stuff? And I'm like, oh my gosh, is that an option? And they're like, yeah. So we made some things that did the products that I did. I'm like, okay, I need these to do exactly what I want them to do. I want a pre-workout to make me shaky, because when I was in Afghanistan, right, the last thing you want to do is take a pre-workout, be shaky, then go into a firefight and your weapon's shaking because you're shaky. You want to be able to shoot straight. So, it's things like this. So I thought about what would I want right now to help me keep in shape and keep my disabilities at bay, but also what would special op guys like, right? What can I do with the product to actually make that work in a field environment? Because when you think about it, who doesn't want to take a product that Army Rangers or Special Forces guys take, right? Well, if you're any kind of a guy that watches movies, probably everyone. So first, I wanted to make sure my products were made in the U.S. To me, that was very important. I wanted to make sure that 5% of all my sales goes to a military veteran organization that helps other vets in need. I really focused on the taste of the products, because that's kind of like, the people that work out, they're like, they work out on the weekends and they rely on these sports nutrition supplements to maximize their workouts. But unfortunately, a lot of them taste terrible and they're not effective. So my whole plan was to make things that actually tasted good, be unique in one way or another with each and every product, and make it to where they're actually consumable and people like them. And that's really kind of how the whole Ranger Nutrition thing came about. It came out of a need that I wanted for myself, that people seemed to like, and then it just caught on.
And I will say, as someone who has tried Ranger Nutrition's products, not to inflate your ego, Scott, mm-hmm. I don't think I can go back to other protein powders after this. It's that damn good. And I remember I even told you before trying it, because you were like, mix it up with 3/4 cup of water or whatever, or in your protein bottle, like fill it up 3/4 of the way with water. And I was like, water? No, like I've always done milk with my protein shakes because I was like, water it's just so like bland tasting and gross. And you're like, no, just do me a favor, just try it with water. And so I did, and I was like, holy crap, like this is better than any milk milk protein shake I've ever done before. And on top of that, like it's not clumpy. It's not. It's funny because like I tried some of your samples, and then like I still have like half of a bottle of some other stuff I have to get through before I do a reorder of Ranger Nutrition stuff. And this other crap that I didn't realize how bad it was until like I had the comparison to Ranger, and I a couple days later I drink the bad stuff, and I'm like coughing the whole day because there's like these granules just caught in my throat because it doesn't dissolve all the way in the water. And I even tried it with water, and I'm like, even in water this other stuff isn't dissolving perfectly. And then you look at the bottle, and there's just all these traces of extra powder that didn't even get used. Versus when I was using the Ranger stuff.
Yeah,
there's like no trace that you even drank anything in the bottle anymore.
Yeah, I have to say too. Thank you for the little samples you sent to me. I tried the candy.
Ranger candy.
Yeah, the Ranger candy. And Raj had said, he was like, it tastes so good. And I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'll try it. I teach a class that includes like spin and strength, and I like do the spin with the class, so it's like quite a bit of a workout. And I was like, all right, I'm going to bring this because I read on the little thing that like you like to take it while you're still working out, and it helps to keep you hydrated. I do not normally like flavored drinks. Like I drink water and coffee, that's it. Like I'm not really into sweet drinks. It was so good. And I kept being like, this is so strange. I like never really like flavored things, but it was super delicious. And I really liked it. So I'll be drinking more of that.
Yeah, that's one of those things that took me 14 months to get the flavor right.
Wow. Well, you definitely got it right because I am, like I said, not normally a flavored liquid kind of person, and I really liked it. So.
But I guess that's kind of the benefit of, me making these products for me. Like some people are like, your pre-workout, why does it only come in fruit punch flavor? I'm like, because that's the flavor I like. Right? It's like, why does your chocolate protein taste like hot chocolate without the milk? Because I like hot chocolate. Not really sure what the problem is here, so. So when it came to like a BCAA, I'm like, BCAAs are, basic chain amino acids, the thing that, helps you extend and helps you recover from workouts. I'm like, every company has one. So, you can't make them sexy, but you can make it taste different than anybody else's. And that's where we put all the formula for a good BCAA is already done, and everybody can copy it. But the taste is one of the things that most BCAAs are rough. I mean, they just are. So, that's just one of the things that, I just know that if you make something taste good, people will actually get it more. Yeah. So that's, when you're like, hey, Rod, you're just another supplement company, which I get it. Why would people want to do me as opposed to any other supplement company? Well, number one, I'm an Army Ranger who actually made these products for what I would like to take if I was out in the field doing it. Number two, I focused on the taste and the consistency of how things tasted. Number three, I give back to veterans. And number four, I'm a disabled veteran myself. So not only, do I create the products, but I'm also a client.
Yeah, and that's one of the best scenarios to be in is where you're a user of your own creation.
Yeah, I mean, I actually did I tested my products. I have a before and after photo of me, where I started off with a dad bod and turned into a bodybuilder in 10 months.
Nice. That's awesome.
I was like, not only am I the owner, but I'm a client.
That's awesome. Well, I think of you as the nutrition company now. So where can our listeners find Ranger Nutrition and get in touch with you?
Well, they can go to rangernutrition.com. And on their first order, if they sign up for the newsletter, they'll get a code that saves them 20%.
Awesome.
If on their first order, which is good. And then I often send out different discounts in our newsletters. So we're at rangernutrition.com. You can also meet us on Facebook under Ranger Nutrition, LLC, and then Instagram under Ranger Nutrition. So, I mean, there's, we're out there socially. We're out there in the media, in the socials, so. That's where we are.
All right, so then to wrap up, we will go one by one, giving our respective answers to today's question. We'll start with Victoria and close with Scott. Our topic question today, Victoria, was, how long can you wing it?
Yeah, so I think for me and sort of what I'm getting out of this discussion, I think you can wing it until you hit enough roadblocks that like you can't continually be successful, and then you need to figure out how to not be winging it anymore. So like I feel like in a lot of the discussion that we had, we sort of talked about the fact that at the beginning sometimes you have to wing it because you just don't know any better. But I think once you get to the point where you do know a little better and you can't keep taking your business or your project or whatever it is forward, and that you're starting to get, enough roadblocks, is when you have to kind of flip the switch.
My answer for how long can you wing it, it's similar to that. The lens I look at it through, though, is I think out of the gate, again, you kind of have to. And then the moment at which you can anticipate, I'm going to start losing a little bit of control of what's going on here. And it's not the moment you lose control. It's the moment you feel like pretty soon I'm going to start losing control of what's happening. That's the moment that you have to start actually being proactive instead of reactive. Scott, how long can you wing it?
Until you become stagnant, till you cannot figure out the next steps to move the company forward.
Awesome. Love it. Scott Hardesty of Ranger Nutrition, thank you so much for being a guest on the show. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. I haven't known you for a long time, but in the time I have known you, it's always a fun interaction. Yeah.
No, you guys are great people. This is actually, just so you know, this is my first podcast I've ever done.
Right on.
Cool.
Sweet.
So I am now no longer a virgin in the podcast.
yeah. You've had your. We'll end it there. We'll end the metaphor there.
But thank you guys very much. It was definitely my pleasure. It's fun group.
Appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Bye.
That wrapped up our conversation with Scott Hardesty. Scott, thank you so much for joining us. Like I said, always a lot of laughs when talking with you, but definitely great to kind of unpack Ranger Nutrition and see how you're not winging it anymore. Did you, the listener, enjoy this episode? If so, the best compliment you can give us is a rating and review on iTunes. Ratings and reviews help more people find the show, therefore more people get to discover their inner awesome. While you're leaving that review, why don't you go ahead and subscribe to the show on whatever platform it is you listen to, whether that is iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, Stitcher, or the various other podcasting platforms this show is available on. For full show notes, references, and resources, as well as Scott's contact information, you can grab it all by going to our website at www.discoverinerinnerawesome.com. Our Season 7 theme song is by Sidewalk Chalk. It is called Long Time Coming, and it is off their new album, An Orchid is Born. You can scoop it on Spotify, iTunes, and wherever music is sold digitally. Cop it because it is one hell of an album. That'll do it for this one. I am so pumped to kick off Season 7 and get this puppy rolling because we've got some awesome episodes on the way for you. No pun intended. Thank you again to Scott Hardesty for joining us. Definitely take him up on his offer to get a discount on your first order of Ranger Nutrition products because, like I said, this stuff is amazing. And I'm not just saying that to put him over. It is truly the best stuff I've ever tasted in the nutritional supplement world. So thank you again to Scott for joining us. For Victoria Cohen, I am Raj Nation. You have been listening to Raj Nation Innovations Discover Your Inner Awesome podcast. We will see you next time. But in the meantime, take care and be awesome today.
It's been a long time coming. The tide is turning. We tired of running. We rising up. It's been a long time coming.